Yeah, I have this vision that 1,000 years after there's a nuclear explosion, some Martians will come down to Earth and uncover, they'll see a big mound of vines growing in this backyard. Of course, all humanity will be gone, and they'll uncover all these vines, and then lo and behold, under it, they're going to discover this huge icon, you know. They won't understand what it is, of course. It'll be standing there like some Easter Island head that they've discovered of a lost civilization. And if they're lucky enough to happen to have a quarter on them, which is very unlikely, but you never know, Martians, they take a quarter and they might sit on this thing and just put their quarter in, and lo and behold, Sense Rema.
It was certainly easy to understand what the objective was. The objective was to let an observer immerse himself inside a computed image. This head-mounted display device, it has two CRTs mounted in these cylinders at the back with the wires coming out in the back. And then there's a lens arrangement, and the thing in front of the user's eyes is a half-silvered mirror embedded in a prism. So he sees superimposed on the world around him, he sees the cathode ray tube images. One of the things that we would ask an observer to do is line yourself up with the edges of one of these cubes and look at the letter edge on and tell us how far inside the cube it is. And sure enough, observers could easily enough move their head to the right position to get an edge-on view of one of the edges of the cube and observe that the letter was slightly inside. There were problems with the head-mounted display equipment that we got. It was heavy, It had, as I recall, a 25 or 30 degree field of view, which wasn't enough. It gave you a feeling of tunnel vision. It was monochrome, of course, and in those days, the notion of a raster display had yet to be invented, and so it was a calligraphic or a line drawing display. So the images that we showed were transparent, wireframe images, and consequently not very realistic. On the other hand, we did demonstrate that people could observe where they were in a synthetic world. And they could align themselves very easily using skills that they learned when they were 2 years old to get their eye in the right place to see the view that they wanted to see. But I think the project was a success for quite a different reason. We had this target out there, and I think that focus of attention that the project provided made it the source of a whole bunch of research problems that were interesting problems in their own right. And I think that project kind of set the tone. We used homogeneous coordinates. That became kind of the standard way that people did three-dimensional stuff for a good period of time in the future. I kind of think there's sort of two kinds of research targets. I admire a great deal the folk in the medical world who said, I want a polio vaccine. And they devote 20 years of their life to learning how to make it. And then they, that's a success. They know when they've succeeded. There's a different kind of research project, and I think the virtual reality is one of those, where there's a target, and there's no way you're going to reach it. Nobody's reached the virtual reality target yet. So virtual reality is still providing a sort of a holy grail, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, a reason to explore for the Northwest Passage, a reason to go forward and push the technology as hard as you can in some direction. And the spin-offs from that kind of a pursuit are its real value. And I think in that sense, the head-mounted display was a very successful project.